Genealogy of Fanaticism. In itself, every idea is neutral, or should be. But man animates ideas, projects his flames and flaws into them, impure, transformed into beliefs. Ideas take their place in time, take shape as events. The trajectory is complete, from logic to epilepsy, whence the birth of ideologies, doctrines, deadly games. Idolaters by instinct, we convert the objects of our dreams and our interests into the unconditional. History is nothing but a procession of false absolutes, a series of temples raised to pretexts, a degradation of the mind before the improbable. Even when he turns from religion, man remains subject to it. Depleting himself to create false gods, he then feverishly adopts them. His need for fiction, for mythology, triumphs over evidence and absurdity alike. His power to adore is responsible for all his crimes. A man who loves a god unduly forces other men to love his god, eager to exterminate them if they refuse. There is no form of intolerance, of proselytism, or ideological intransigence which fails to reveal the bestial substratum of enthusiasm. Once man loses his faculty of indifference, he becomes a potential murderer. Once he transforms his idea into a god, the consequences are incalculable. We kill only in the name of a god or of his counterfeits. The excesses provoked by the goddess reason, by the concept of nation, class, or race, are akin to those of the Inquisition or of the Reformation. The ages of fervour abound in bloody exploits. A Saint Teresa could only be the contemporary of the auto-da-fe, a Luther of the repression of the peasants' revolt. In every mystic outburst, the moans of victims parallel the moans of ecstasy. Scaffolds, dungeons, jails flourish only in the shadow of a faith, of that need to believe which has infested the mind forever. The devil pales beside the man who owns a truth, his truth. We are unfair to a Nero, a Tiberius. It was not they who invented the concept heretic. They were only degenerate dreamers who happened to be entertained by massacres. The real criminals are men who establish an orthodoxy on the religious or political level, men who distinguish between the faithful and the schismatic. When we refuse to admit the interchangeable character of ideas, blood flows. Firm resolves draw the dagger, fiery eyes presage slaughter. No wavering mind, infected with Hamletism, was ever pernicious. The principle of evil lies in the will's tension, in the incapacity for quietism, in the Promethean megalomania of a race that bursts with ideals, that explodes with its convictions, and that, in return for having forsaken doubt and sloth, vices nobler than all its virtues, has taken the path to perdition, into history, that indecent alloy of banality and apocalypse. Here certitudes abound. Suppress them. Best of all, suppress their consequences, and you recover paradise. What is the fall but the pursuit of a truth and the assurance you have found it? The passion for a dogma, domicile within a dogma. The result is fanaticism, a fundamental defect which gives man the craving for effectiveness, for prophecy, for terror, a lyrical leprosy by which he contaminates souls, subdues them, crushes, or exalts them. Only the skeptics, or idlers, or aesthetes escape, because they propose nothing, because they, humanity's true benefactors, undermine fanaticism's purposes, analyse its frenzy. I feel safer with a Pyro than with a St. Paul, for a jesting wisdom is gentler than an unbridled sanctity. In the fervent mind, you always find the camouflaged beast of prey. No protection is adequate against the claws of a prophet. Once he raises his voice, whether in the name of heaven, of the city, or some other excuse, away with you. Satire of your solitude, he will not forgive your living on the wrong side of his truths and his transports. He wants you to share his hysteria, his fullness. He wants to impose it on you, and thereby to disfigure you. A human being possessed by a belief and not eager to pass it on to others is a phenomenon alien to the earth, where our mania for salvation makes life unbreathable. Look around you. Everywhere, spectres preaching. Each institution translates a mission. City halls have their absolute, even as the temples, officialdom, with its rules and metaphysics designed for monkeys. Everyone trying to remedy everyone's life. Even beggars, even the incurable aspire to it. The sidewalks and hospitals of the world overflow with reformers. The longing to become a source of events affects each man like a mental disorder or a desired malediction. Society, an inferno of saviours. What Diogenes was looking for with his lantern was an indifferent man. It is enough for me to hear someone talk sincerely about ideals, about the future, about philosophy, to hear him say "we" with a certain inflection of assurance, to hear him invoke others and regard himself as their interpreter, for me to consider him my enemy. I see in him a tyrant manqué, an approximate executioner, quite as detestable as the first-rate tyrants, the first-rate executioners. Every faith practices some form of terror, all the more dreadful when the pure are its agents. We mistrust the swindler, the trickster, the conman, yet to them we can impute none of history's great convulsions. Believing in nothing, it is not they who rummage in your hearts or your ulterior motives. They leave you to your apathy, to your despair, or to your uselessness. To them, humanity owes the few moments of prosperity it has known. It is they who save the peoples from fanatics' torture and idealists' destroy. Doctrineless, they have only whims and interests, accommodating vices 1,000 times more endurable than the ravages provoked by principled despotism. For all of life's evils come from a conception of life. An accomplished politician should search out the ancient sophists and take lessons in oratory and in corruption. Whereas the fanatic is incorruptible, if he kills for an idea, he can just as well get himself killed for one. In either case, tyrant or martyr, he is a monster. No human beings are more dangerous than those who have suffered for a belief. The great persecutors are recruited among the martyrs not quite beheaded. Far from diminishing the appetite for power, suffering exacerbates it. Hence, the mind feels more comfortable in the society of a braggart than in that of a martyr, and nothing is more repugnant to it than the spectacle of dying for an idea. Revolted by the sublime and by carnage, the mind dreams of a provincial ennui on the scale of the universe, of a history whose stagnation would be so great that doubt would take on the lineaments of an event and hope a calamity.